What's up, guys? Welcome to week 9 in the NFL. I apologize, this is coming to you a little later than normal. Had a pretty long travel week, but I guess without further ado, let's just hop right into this like I usually will. And for those of you who are just joining me for the first time, I basically set a cash lineup here, just go over my general thoughts for the week, roster construction for the week, this specific week, and just how I evaluate players and then ultimately end up choosing those players and kind of constructing the lineup. So as usual, I'll start with a quarterback, and we don't have to do any scrolling, no cheap quarterbacks this week. I'm actually going to hop right in with Aaron Rodgers here versus Indy. Green Bay has the highest implied team total, sitting at 30 points, and they're a huge 7.5 point home favorite. Usually when targeting a home favorite and that high of a team total, I'm looking at the running back position specifically. However, Rodgers has produced all 19 of the offensive TDs for the Packers. The Colts have also been extremely favorable to opposing teams' quarterbacks, allowing the second most passing yards per game and an average of 20 DK points on the season. I understand if you want to spend down a little bit, maybe go with luck or even a cheaper quarterback, but I want as much exposure to that implied team total as possible, and I think targeting Aaron Rodgers is the easiest way to get that. Got another good team total here that we're going to target with our running back, and we're going to go with Charcandrick West. It's probably the chalkiest of chalk plays. He's $4,400. Spencer Ware missed practice all week so far due to the concussion he suffered in week 8. And that means West is probably a lock for 20 touches versus a defense that ranks 21st in 4for4.com's adjusted fantasy points allowed metric and 27th in Football Outsiders rush DVOA metric. The Chiefs have an implied team total of 27.75 and are a 7-point home favorite. West is an absolute lock. I don't think you can get away from using him in your cash game. I don't see a reason to. You're looking to be making up a lot of ground if you fade him and he ends up having a good week. So I really don't think like a total of 23 to 24 DraftKings points are out of the question for West. Right back to the Packers. I'm going to target Packers wide receiver, and we're going to go with Devontae Adams. He's at $5,900, and I already told you what I like about targeting this game with those contextual factors of why you want Green Bay, the high team total, Colts are bad versus the pass, and lots of pass volume in general for Green Bay. What's nice about Adams at that price point is Cobb is looking to miss some more time, and Adams has averaged 13 targets per game the past 2 games. That is an insane amount of volume for a $5,900 player. So once again, I know some people don't like this much exposure in cash, especially if you're looking at Ty Montgomery or even the Packers defense against a fairly turnover Andrew Luck, but $5,900, this is where I'm looking for our first wide receiver. Our second wide receiver is going to be somebody a little bit higher price, but this is as high as I'm going to go in cash for wide receiver. $7,100 price point for Jarvis Landry. They're going to be going up against the Jets at Jet Stadium. So I think there's a handful of people that will tell you that Jarvis is bad at football, and while they might be right to a certain degree, I don't care. Landry has just one game under 12 DK points and multiple games of 16 plus DK points. While I typically like to target a receiver whom will run against Revis, Landry is still in an excellent spot as the Jets are giving up close to 29 DK points to opposing teams' wideouts. The Jets also rank 31st worst in pass DVOA, and Miami has an implied team total sitting just under 24 points, so still a very healthy team total. Landry is a tad bit expensive, but I still think he's in a great spot this week. I think it's important to note, too, that he still was seeing a fair amount of targets, even though Ajayi was coming off 2 record-breaking weeks. So while he doesn't get the red zone looks, he's still just a target monster, and the Jets are far superior versus the run, as opposed to the pass. They're a funnel defense. So Landry at $7,100, good spot. Let's knock out another high-priced guy. We'll go back to running back here, and I'm going to grab Ezekiel Elliott at Cleveland. So I think with a lot of not-so-hot running back options this week, Zeke is a pure lock, just like West is. These are probably going to be 2 of the most owned players, West and Elliott. And even though Dallas is on the road, they're still 7-point favorites versus a team who is 31st worst in rush DVOA and has allowed an average of more than 1 rushing TD per game so far in 2016. Elliott is a has the matchup. He's got the volume we look for. And I think that while I didn't do it necessarily here in this video, just the way that I was kind of identifying players, for you guys setting your lineups at home, I think you should put Elliott and Rodgers in at your first two positions, or maybe like Elliott and Luck in. But you should be putting in Elliott and West and then building from there. Let's see. So let's go get like a defense and a tight end out of the way just so we can see what we're working with. And I think while Kyle Rudolph at 4K is a bit more than I would like to spend up, he's a guy who I keep coming back to. He currently has a massive 39% market share of his team's red zone targets, and the Vikings have an implied team total that's pretty healthy at 23.5 points. However, there's a guy on DraftKings specifically that I'm targeting to save a little bit of money, and that is Antonio Gates. Hunter Henry looks like he's not going to play this week. Williams and Benjamin are both considered truly questionable for Sunday, and Gates has seen a very steady uptick in targets since week 5 and saw 19 targets in the past 2 games. He also had 2 red zone looks over those 2 weeks as well. Chargers are a heavy home favorite, which is very important with tight ends, just like it is with your running back, and have an excellent team total at 25.5 points. So while I think Rudolph is fine, I'll take Gates for 1K cheaper, especially since we're trying to force in Rodgers here and essentially pay up at our defense. So for defense, I think that the Chiefs are an absolute lock at $3,500. They're going up against the pure dumpster fire and turnover-prone Blake Bortles. They're 7-point home favorites, and the Jags are sitting at an implied team total of just 18 points. So I think you should be locking them in, especially since they're at home in Arrowhead. So you got the Chiefs and West kind of combination there, which I think is a great correlation. Defense generates more turnovers, more time of possession, should equate to more carries for West. So that leaves us with $5,200. And then we obviously have to get another wide receiver out of the way here, as well as our flex. So there's a couple different options that I think we can go with. This is where it kind of starts to get a little shaky for me. And I think for a wide receiver, if we want to look at, we can look at Kenny Britt at $4,400. So hear me out on this. The Rams, they have an okay team total. It's not one that I typically target. It's pushing 21 points. Kenny Britt has also seen no fewer than 8 targets past the 2 weeks, and Carolina is allowing the league's second highest amount of points to opposing team wideouts. They also really struggle with perimeter wide receivers, which is Britt's role in that offense. So while I know it's a little bit risky, it's one that I'm willing to take so we can get Rodgers and we can get Elliott and Landry in that lineup, who all give us very safe floors. And the wide receiver position in general brings variance just due to the nature of the position. So that's something that I'm willing to look at. So we've got 6K in our flex here, and there's a lot of different options at the 6K price point. I think a lot of people are on Diggs. A lot of people like Demarius going, Sunday night against Oakland. There's even Ty Montgomery if you're willing to stack up that many Green Bay guys. But I'm specifically looking at Dante Moncrief. He came back last week after missing a handful of games, and he immediately saw 90+% of his team's snaps, caught a touchdown. He's an excellent over the middle guy for Luck. And once again, we're attacking that huge over-under, which is, I believe, at 51.5 points in Green Bay. So, or actually maybe 53. I'll have to double check the line, but I know that it's moved. So Dante Moncrief, I think, is somebody who maybe you want to get off Britt and you can put Creef in your flex, or excuse me, put Creef in your wide receiver spot there, and then look at a flex, maybe get another running back who gives you a safe floor or something like that. But that's kind of where I'm at for cash. It's, I think, a very safe team. It's a very strange week, and I think getting exposure to the quarterback position is where I want to spend the most, or getting exposure to Aaron Rodgers and spending the most money is really what I'm looking to do there. Somebody that you can look at the quarterback spot is Ryan Tannehill. I believe he's $5,600. That opens up a ton of salary. I think Tannehill at home with a good team total going against a super weak pass defense is more than viable, and that gives you a lot more money. You now have $6,800 in your wide receiver if you're not comfortable playing Crab, and you can target a guy like Kelvin Benjamin or Manny Sanders. So yeah, guys, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down in the comments. Don't forget to head over to ProjectRoto.com and check out the data sheet and the cheat sheet that I put together highlighting cash and GPP plays, as well as Pat James analysis and then our entire staff rankings. So best of luck in week 9, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.